The bridge there is supposed to have had 16 men fall off of it. And, of course, it can't be found. Coast Guard records said 2 men was killed, neither drowned. The engineer said 2 men was killed, neither drowned. Several newspapers that covered the story and reporters there on the scene said it too. So it was a false prophecy. I believe 16 men fell off and drowned. No.
And I'm a lifelong resident of Jeffersonville, Indiana, and I have been a school teacher. I have worked in the boatyards, and I am now an attorney. And I have been an attorney since 1976. My dad, Richard Vissing, although he served as mayor for 20 years, the Jeffersonville Motel he built. And that was a place, our home was there. One of the people that came by on a frequent basis was Reverend Branham. And he and Dad were the best of buddies. I think he was a few years older than my dad, but not many, and they were pals. One day my dad told me, he said, you know, Billy Branham fed people. He said a lot of people would have starved to death in the Depression, but Billy carried a 22 with him when he was out walking the lines and shot squirrels and rabbits and brought them back and fed folks. The George Rogers Clark Bridge and the fact that people fell and were involved in the, they're still there, they're inside the pillar. Now that wasn't really widely reported. That was opened in 1929. My dad was 14 years old then and had taken a car out of the garage and sat at the line where the ribbon was all night long to be the first one to drive over with his cousin. And he's got a little silver or bronze medallion they were giving away to people on the bridge that day. So that would put that a year and a half, 2 years earlier when they were building that pillar. My grandmother, Maud, and another lady, Dorothy Phillips, also a St. Luke's member, were younger people. Dorothy was about my dad's age and was standing on the bank and told me the story that she watched the scaffolding collapse. And there were people who fell inside the pier as workmen. Now, the cement just kept coming on top of them, and they couldn't stop the pour because it would have to tear the whole pillar down. So those guys are there today. Inside the pillar. Inside the pillar. I guess it was never really widely reported in the news media, but my grandmother assured me that that was true. And I know that Dorothy, who's long since deceased, said she was there and saw it.
lot of Message followers believe it, that for a vision to happen, that everything has to be in the exact right place. Well, that's not Scripture. Prophecy about the brown bear that William Branham prophesied he would kill, and he gave Eddie Biscoe reason for that. So excuse that Brother Biscoe gave. And Eddie Biscoe, about the bear vision, he says that he was there, and I'm sure he was, and I think he said he seen the bear, and maybe he did. And William Branham wasn't where he's supposed to be. Again, so that makes it okay. Thus saith the Lord, don't have to worry.
May I give you part of my testimony now? Do we have about 20 minutes? Is that all right? You have never heard this. This has never been written in a book. I want to be forthright and yet honest. This is my testimony. Next month, now I'm going back into the country that you might know when I come back next year. I'm going to get a brown bear that's almost twice that size. You see if it's right or not. I seen it. When we was standing, put my hands on his haunches, laying on the ground like that, and I could put my hands on his hips like that, and him laying down. Now you find out if that's right or not. I was there in August with him, and this is what happened. We look up, and here's a massive bear. I have never seen a bear like this. I've lived in the north most of my life. But this bear, I have never seen a bear like that. He was massive, absolutely massive. I'm not exaggerating. Rain never let up. Rain the next day. 1, 2, 3, 4 days and nights, and just rained. But he says, I guess Brother Branham wants to go home. I said, what? I said, I understand. And Brother Branham came out and he says, Brother Eddie, he said, where did you brother see that bear? I just saw him disappear in the willows, and he was gone. Maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours later, Brother Branham came back. And Brother Branham came up and stood right beside my horse right here. And he looked up at me and says, Brother Eddie, he said, I'm the Jonah in this group. Now all I can tell you is the truth. I'm the Jonah in this group. And he pointed to the sky. He said, this is on account of me. He said, it's only the second time I know in my life that I disobeyed a vision. And he said just like this, but it's over, and we'll ride out of here dry. And we rode out of there that day, the next 8 hours, in hot sunshine.
Most of you have heard this, and I'm not going to read all that follows it or should follow it. This is on blind Barnabas. Pastor, I might say it, Vito Soanin, I probably cannot read that. There's 3 people, 3 witnesses there with that little boy. All 3 of them tell the same story. The little boy was taken in the car with William Branham, laid on his lap, and I think a sister that was a translator in the back seat with him. William Branham declared the boy was probably dead. They all prayed for him. William Branham thought his breath came back. He went to the hospital, stayed in the hospital 3 days, and came out. Why do people repeat what William Branham said about instantly? And every time they tell that, that lifts William Branham up to a place of vindication in our eyes. It wasn't even true according to witnesses. It didn't happen. Let's read Deuteronomy 18. It says, the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other gods, even that prophet shall die. Verse 22. When a prophet speaks in the name of the Lord, if the thing follow not, nor come to pass, that is the thing which the Lord has not spoken. But the prophet has spoken it presumptuously. Thou shalt not be afraid of him. The original Hebrew, you can look it up, thou shalt not be afraid of him. It means you should not commune with him or continue with him. But oftentimes when people would try to correct William Branham, sometimes it's taken out of the tapes. I know of people that tried to stand up in a congregation and asked him what he's trying to preach. It didn't make sense. But that's taken out. You'll never hear that on many tapes.
Hello, Sid Roth here with Marilyn Hickey, and I have to tell you, I wish I could have done one of the greatest miracle ministries I ever read about, short of in the Bible, but on the same level, was a man by the name of Branham. And Marilyn had a problem. The doctor said she couldn't have a child. So she goes to this meeting. How many people were at Branham's meeting when you went?
Probably it was about 5,000. I was in Dallas, Texas.
And what happened?
Well, I was 26. I'd been married 3 years. They said I could never have a child. I had an inherited condition. And he called me out of the audience. Well, here I am on a platform facing this man and had the most unusual experience. I don't know how to describe it, but it was like a wheel within a wheel, lower on the ground, and I could see it, and as it turned, it went whoosh, whoosh. I could hear it, and this man is saying to me, you're not from Denver, you're not from here, you're from Denver, Colorado, you're from a wooded area, and you can't have a baby. Now, I'm thinking if I...
He had never met you?
Never.
And
never.
He just pulls you right out of an audience.
Exactly.
And he could have been, I mean, how could he have known all those things?
It was the Spirit of God. He said, you can't have a baby. But he said, go home and receive your child. And the reason I'm telling you wheel within a wheel, it came into my feet. And it wasn't until 10 years later I got pregnant. And I went to a doctor. I said, I think I'm pregnant. He examined me. He said, no, you're not pregnant. That's impossible. He said, you're not pregnant. You're going through a change. So I went home and went through some more changes and, and went to another doctor. He said, this is a 5.5-month pregnancy. And of course, you can see Sarah on my program.
But the key, 10 years from that word. You see, it's like the game of baseball. You don't have 3 strikes and you're out. You are only out if you quit swinging. You got it? You
That's
got
right.
it? Okay, Marilyn, very quickly. People have had influences on your life. Kenneth Hagin taught the authority of the believer.
Does that take all the superstition away from it? It's God. I don't know those people, but your faith has healed you. Go home, you're well. What did they touch? They never touched me. They're 15 yards from me. It's the high priest, Jesus Christ, the same yesterday, today, and forever, the resurrected one. Don't doubt. Believe. I'm sorry. It was in the audience. I just have to work as the Spirit moves. It's such a weakening affair. Are we strangers? I don't know you and you don't know me. If God will tell me what you're here for, you believe me to be His servant, you know something's going on. That feeling between you and I stands that line. You're moving from Him, you're moving way away. I can tell you right now, you're not from around here because you're from a wooded country where there's much heavy timber and wood. And you're suffering with a female trouble, and you've got a desire in your heart to have a baby, and you can't have the baby. And you come from Denver, Colorado. Thus saith the Lord. That's right. Go home and receive your child. God will give it to you. Go around.